What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyFilmMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to talk about a little indie called Nowhere Special. I don't think anybody's talking about this, but I am, because what else is the point of being here? This is a film that was submitted for my consideration for awards by Cohen Media Group, which is not necessarily the most powerhouse of campaigners. Sorry, Cohen. I wish you were, because Nowhere Special would be something that, would be a little bit more on people's radar. I think it's taken a while to get to the United States. This film is listed as being a 2020 release, which probably is, UK, Ireland, and then it bounced around from there, pushing from international territory forward to eventually being technically qualifying this year for the US Academy Awards. We have a couple films this year that have qualified, at least previously last year, that are eligible this year, that were nominated for BAFTAs last year, but were not released in America, like Anthony Hopkins in One Life is actually eligible in 2024 because One Life didn't open domestically until 2024. So I'm pleasantly surprised by the existence of this movie. I'm sad that it took this long to get here. I wish more people were watching it, and I wish it had audio description, because I'm a blind film critic. So, but it does feel like a really small film, and it's taken feels like it's clawed its way to get here. So I'd like to at least talk about it. But the way that it's shot and its directorial style and everything is definitely a way where I would not recommend it to a blind or visually impaired audience without audio description. One of the reasons I do this is because I don't know that audio description doesn't necessarily exist. I do have a lot of international viewers, especially those in UK. And so if you are in the UK and there's a UK track for this, it just hasn't migrated to the United States from whatever its distributor was over there, then you'll know whether or not this is worth your time. So this is a tearjerker of a movie. This feels like the kind of film that if people like me, if the film pundits were pushing movies, this would have a little bit more of a awards profile. We tend to kind of buy into the believability of a campaign, the names. We'd much rather talk about giving somebody their 6th or 7th Oscar nomination than we would exploring independent film that has sort of really interesting stories and unique dramatic performances from performers we wouldn't necessarily look at otherwise, like James Norton, who in the lead role here plays John, who is a window washer, and he's dying, and he has 2 months to live, and he has a young son, Michael, and there's no one else in the world related to him. The mother left, she was Russian, and she left and went back to her country and just abandoned Michael, left him with James. So, John, left him with John. James Norton is the name of the actor. And now John is terminal, and he has 2 months to figure out, or less than 2 months to figure out which family is going to take care of Michael for the rest of Michael's life. So it's a very sobering look as John sort of interviews these families, thinking about who would be right for his kid, and asking his kid, and trying all the while not to let his kid know what's up. That's probably the most affecting thing, is he's trying to balance the impending doom while also not worrying his kid, not trying to put on seem weak or sick or sad or anything like that, not to alarm his little 5 or 6-year-old kid that anything's wrong. And the movie sort of progresses from there. Michael kind of starts to noticing things are a little bit weird. Words are said, and he has to ask what they mean. When he realizes what they mean, but it's very much a journey, and it's a kind of journey where I'm like, how the only reason is because nobody's seen this film is literally because it's just something that nobody needs to talk about because who's going to click on this review? So, because it's an excellent story, um, James is out there doing reviews and talking about sort of like the real life inspiration behind this, which the fact that there is one is also just incredibly sobering. And watching this movie really was like an experience, even though it very much takes a meditative approach where there are a lot of scenes where there are dialogue and we're just sort of watching, and it's like, I can't watch, I'm blind, I need audio description, please put audio description on everything. I want to be able to sit here and talk about how great Nowhere Special is and how it broke me, because I feel like there are scenes probably here where he's making a lot of silent choices that would really connect these moments together. It's like I feel the weight of the story and I feel James's performance when he is speaking, but it's those moments that are lost that make it a little bit hard for me to jump on board and be like, oh my God, this is the best movie I've seen in 2024. But I'd love to jump into conversations with other people who've seen it and talk about, hey, have you seen Nowhere Special? Because this is pretty special. Sorry for the puns. Subscribe for bad puns. But these are the kind of films that we should be reviewing. It's really easy to jump into the conversation of, I don't know, Wicked or pick whatever movie is making like $100 million that week, and for everybody to be like, oh, well, it's ubiquitous and it's everywhere. And we can all jump on that conversation. But the problem is that a film like Nowhere Special could really use a platform from the audience. And the thing is, if this is being sent out to people like me, there should be a lot of people talking about this movie, which would at least push eyes in its direction and get people to hear the story. It has a pretty high Metacritic score. It was like in the 80s. It doesn't even have an IMDb score. It said rate, like it didn't have a rating. Like, I was like, what? And it usually, sometimes it blocks like a rating, if the movie has a pending release date. It didn't even have that. It didn't even have like the coming soon. It just didn't have a rating. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm so confused. So, I feel like I've seen something that's been around for 4 years, but like no one has seen, but clearly has been released other places. Because like I did find another review of somebody reviewing this 2 years ago. So, I mean, there's another guy out there who's just in another language, but he reviewed it a while back too, like 3 years ago or something. So this movie's been floating and kicking around. And now it's here, and US film critics, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Why do we have platforms? I kind of make fun of, I'm off topic, by the way, but I kind of make fun of Chris Stuckman because he's not really a critic anymore. He's sort of like if Oprah Winfrey stopped doing her talk show and instead just did a show called her favorite things. You know how she was always doing those favorite things? Basically, that's what he's at now. He's at Oprah level. Where he's just releasing only videos for things he likes. So if there's not a video for it, you don't know if he hasn't seen it or if he didn't like it. So he's only telling you about, like, he's only putting out recommends. So everything from him is like a thumbs up. If he bothers to review it, you don't even have to watch the review. You just know that if he reviewed it, that he liked it. There's no mystery behind it anymore. You don't even actually have to click on his review. Once you know his format, you're like, oh, well, he reviewed that, so that must be an endorsement. We could be using our platforms for movies like this. We could be trying to find these smaller movies so that way Frances Fisher doesn't have to like launch an Oscar campaign for Andrea Riseborough for a movie that didn't really register and nobody's really watching, for To Leslie, which now she's doing for Kate Winslet and Lee. And those are well-known actresses. Who's jumping on board for James Norton for Nowhere Special? I also saw Day of the Fight, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, who's jumping on board for this film? Like, who's pushing Michael Pitt? And with the supporting cast, it includes Steve Buscemi, who has never been nominated for an Academy Award, which seems like an egregious error. unto man. So, Nowhere Special feels like the kind of movie that should be ending up on your end lists, and I probably would put it on mine if it had audio description. But I'm really trying to make sure that I'm still representational in terms of talking about accessibility, advocating for accessibility, talking about audio description, talking about whether or not I can understand. Yeah, there are parts in this film where I don't know what's happening on screen. So how can I fully judge it and put it up against the films that I did fully understand what was going on screen because of audio description that connected all the dots for me? And here there's a bunch of really pretty dots, but they're not connected. And I'm engaged in the story. I'm engaged in the characters, and I think it's a banger script from what I can tell. So I just need to be pulled more into the film and immersed more in it. Um, but it is a very difficult film to follow without audio description because of the amount of times that we are just kind of sitting and not and listening. You know what I'm saying, to nothing. The film doesn't really have the kind of like score that kind of makes that connects the film's tissue together and makes it, and you're like, ooh, well, the music is pretty. Uh, it's more like ambient sound, like cars driving and the wind whispering past the boom mics. Anyway, uh, it's one of those movies, and there's a place for those. They're independent films, absolutely, but so many of these are made every single year, and we're too afraid to review them because we don't know. Is it gonna help us? Is it gonna hurt us? Are we gonna get subs? Or is anybody gonna? Is it gonna be a review on my channel that says 4 views? You know, like what is it? What's it gonna do for me? But I came in. I wanted to do this because I like film, and I really think Nowhere Special is something that could be very special. So unfortunately, due to lack of accessibility, my grade would be unwatchable. But if you're asking me where I think this movie would land, I'm gonna guess like high. I try to give like a mid grade, like a floater. Well, the mid here would be A minus, acknowledging that it would either go A or B plus based on audio description. But I don't see this film falling out of my thing. I really enjoyed it, and if I ever found it again with audio description somewhere, I would watch it again just to connect all the dots and see what it was that I was missing. Certainly, it's turned me on to more James Norton, and somebody who I'm lightly familiar with as an actor, but not like deeply familiar. So I would look more for his work in the future. But that's it. If you're sighted, please check this movie out. I think it's available. I noticed YouTube Movies had it, so I think it's just available on demand or rental or whatever the fuck. So if you find it somewhere and you can see and you don't need accessibility, I think this movie's great for you. I have every feeling as I'm watching this film that this is an emotional roller coaster. I cannot confirm that because of my very unique perspective. So sorry to the team of Nowhere Special that the one review you got over here in the States is from a blind film critic. But I liked it. Does that help? I mean, in general, yeah. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.